Hi, Bill.
Are you feeling better?
Are you feeling better? I don't think we're muted. Can't hear you. Oops. Oops.
Hi there.
Hi, Joel. How are
I
you?
have my laptop screen down still. It's kind of a pain having the camera be in my laptop because then my laptop screen's in the way.
Ah, hey, we have a quick question for you. There,
Sure,
nothing to
sure.
do with Hiawatha Gardens. Hi, Nancy.
Okay.
What are there are 6 white buses parked right next to Fields Park. Are those the new electric shuttles?
No, I
Oh,
I think those are the cogs
oh, okay.
buses. I think that's what are they like a different brand? Do they have like a different
They're smaller.
But
Yeah,
they're just
I
totally white. There are no
yes.
markings on
I
them.
think those are the cogs what they're using to shuttle people up to their parking lot from their off-site parking lot. Those are
Oh,
not anything I'm aware of that are Manitous.
how come they're parking them at Fields Park?
Are they in the Fields parking lot?
No,
Or
they're all along the
On the
street.
street
There are 6 of
on El
them
Paso.
on El
hmm,
Paso.
I don't have a good answer for that. I've never seen them over there. Are they there? I usually see them on Manitou Avenue near Mayfair
Yeah,
because there's oversized parking there. But if they're parking a different location, I haven't seen them over there. We'll have to look.
there were 2 here yesterday and there's 6 here today.
Okay, wow. I can't imagine the cog is that busy right now. So we may have to go figure it out.
We were hoping they were yours.
Electric ones, but not.
Ours are much more open. Ours will feel more like a shuttle, like a tram, not a
Oh,
bus
cool.
like those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's 3:30, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back, Bill. It's good to see you after the past couple of meetings. We've missed you, so can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
You're not on mute, Bill, but we can't hear you, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, while you're working on that, we'll go ahead and get started because we still can't hear you. Can't tell if he's still talking. Anyway, let's go ahead. Are there any comments or changes desired for the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. I don't see any public here, so I guess we don't need public comments. The minutes for last time I thought were very good for the most part, except for the big paragraph, Susan, that you did on the floodplain analysis and so on.
Yeah.
And I recommend, Dole, if you have not reviewed that, that you review that, because she does say in here clarification needed. And
Yeah.
I have
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I've got two contradictory statements here, and I double checked my notes and I kept trying to make sense, but they absolutely contradict. So one of the statements, Dole, that you made is the modeling will let us know if the investment in raising the building is worth it. And then another statement I had later is, as a sub-consultant to BVH, Olson will do floodplain modeling after we've decided whether to raise the building. So
no, those are both correct. Both those statements are correct. The floodplain modeling is not the same as the earthwork modeling. So the first analysis is analyzing whether or not it's worth it to raise the building.
Okay,
and then
so I call that modeling, because I've got both of them listed as floodplain modeling, but clearly.
Okay, the first one should just be called earthwork modeling.
Okay, good. That does it. Okay. Okay. That was my issue. Nancy, did you have something else with the minutes you wanted?
No, I didn't. And I was just going to suggest that maybe Dole review those. I don't know, Dole, if you had a chance to really review that paragraph, but if there's anything else in there, and perhaps we delay the approval on these minutes until Dole has a good chance to review them. Would that be okay?
I'll do that. I'll do that.
I think this is a pretty important description for historical benefit. So, and I have to admit that I also got, it's difficult to comprehend all that we went through last time. So thank you. So let's just delay. And that was the only question I had. Did anyone else have any concerns for last week's minutes?
Tweed found a minor problem. I've got an extra word in there that I can take out. It says the existing elevation will, I need to take that out.
Yeah, I saw that too. So anyway, okay. Well, we won't move to approve those this week. We'll just bring them back next week then, or next time we meet, if that's all right with everybody. So moving on, updates. What's going on with the roof? Dole, anything new?
So nothing new. As you guys know, Aaron presented to, and I'm gonna pull a picture up while I'm gonna pull a picture, share a picture. Aaron presented to SHPO last night. I'm sorry, HPC. And I talked a little bit about the soffit and that information. And then we kind of briefly talked about that the task force is trying to figure out if we want to go ahead and spend the money now to update the roof and do all the improvements, or if we want to wait and do the whole project at once. And Anne, I don't know if you can weigh in, but it seems like HPC would be okay either way. I mean, one comment was they didn't want to see us piecemeal the project and do some now and some later. But the other perspective was, the roof is not attractive. So getting that thing improved and ready would also be acceptable. So, and I don't know if I'm representing that correctly or not, but it didn't seem like there was a strong direction on whether or not to go ahead and do the roof either way.
Yeah, I don't think there was a strong direction.
Yeah, I think we can decide as a task force and they would support it. And Aaron pointed out, if we do decide to do the roof work, we would need to go through HPC for the actual approval of it.
Okay,
and also I want to clarify, I'm about to pull up a picture that I think will be helpful, because we continue, I incorrectly, sometimes I say something and I forget that not everyone has seen what I've seen or understands what I'm saying. So I took a picture of the roof and I wanted to show you what this work from the roofer we're talking about. So I'm going to share it right now, and then we'll go over it. Okay, I think y'all can see that okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to zoom in, and I don't know if me zooming in zooms it in on your screen or not. Is it zooming in?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and I should have done this with HPC last night, and I didn't think about it in time, but here is what we're wanting, and this should let me edit it. Hang on. Okay, here's what we're wanting to do. Let me zoom in again. I don't know how to do that. Let's hold on. So the whole idea this other roofer had was these right here, these white 2x4s were added to the building afterwards. And those are what were stitched into the old roof trusses. These right here are the old roof trusses right there. And so, and then the soffit and everything was all underneath here and running along this way. So what we're looking for that roofer or any, a selected roofer to do is to come in and remove these white 2x4s, remove this board because that was used as the old, some of the top of the old wall. And then they would come through and do fascia board and soffit board underneath and finish this off. So I know I just made that a whole bunch of extra lines, but when we talk about removing the stitched in 2x4s, it's these white ones right here because you can see, I don't know if I can delete. You can see how, so this here also, I know, I'm going to just draw it all over it again. I'm sorry to keep, but if you guys understand, it's probably good. But so this is old wall from the dance floor, the all historic wall. And then these are the trusses that overhung the wall. And that's what's holding up the building. These are not, and this can go too. So it's a matter of removing those. And then you can see the front face of this board here, of this floor, the ceiling truss. That's what the fascia would go along the front and underneath that and make it into a soffit.
But it looks like there'd be nothing on top of that now.
There is
talking about, but it seems like there should be an old roof there too. And I'm just not.
This is the old roof right here. This is the old roof. And so you can't see it because I'm underneath it, but let me reset this drawing again. That seemed to work the best. Let's maybe look at I'll zoom into a lower one, Nancy. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so follow here. So what's happening is, let's see if it'll let me do this again. Now, unfortunately, this brown wood board is right in the wrong direction of what we need. But what's happening is the roof is following that roof line, and that roof line is the rest of Hiawatha. And I don't remember the pitch. I think it's like a 412 pitch or something. Bill, you may have a better idea. But then right at the transition point where you can't see it, the 2x4 picks up the roof. And you see how my two lines have two different roof pitches? And then the rest of the extension matched that. And that was like a 1-to-12 roof. It was a real flat roof. So they had enough room for their building. All that this would do is pull off this board basically back to that point so that what would remain would be the original correctly pitched roof on top of the ceiling truss down through the front of the, Bill, I don't know what you call the end of the trusses that cantilever over, but through there, and then the fascia board. Let me change colors.
And Bill, I think probably most of us get it, so I don't think you need to much more detail. And I would has BVH had a chance to weigh in? Because we wanted them to weigh in on it as well.
Well, I think that they've understood this. I just don't think we've actually communicated it well to you all about what we're actually looking to do with this level of detail.
So you're saying that before anything would get cut off, that it would have to go back to HPC for formal approval?
I think we would want to do that just,
Okay.
and it's not so much that the cutting off is the problem. It's that they would want to make sure that whatever's put back
Is
is
solid.
correct to the
Right.
to the architecture. Yes.
Okay, then I don't know about anybody else, but as long as, you know, it is clearer now to me. Does anyone have any questions on the roof for Dole? And I guess it's going to be a while because the other contractors still not come in, correct, Dole?
Yeah, we're still like 2 weeks out, so
okay.
It's going to be a little while.
Okay. Go ahead, Susan.
I guess my question to Dole is, what if we're not getting any leaks? What does this get us to do now? Why not just wait till the full construction? Is there a rush on making these changes? What does removing those whiteboards get us structurally?
Nothing.
Okay.
I couldn't show this picture first because you can't see the stitched on trusses. It's confusing. But basically those boards go away, this top goes away, and then the roof would tie in straight down to the fascia, and then it would look, you know, it would have a finished look like this on the bottom and the side, and then it would need gutters.
So it would have the historic building appearance more.
Yes, correct. And this is the only section that we really have anything left, because when they remodeled, they tore a lot of this stuff off when they did this stitching. So we would need to use this and understand this as much as possible, and then maybe pictures to know exactly how that end board sets up. Now, of course, remember, gutters would run along that, so there's not that much opportunity for doing anything.
And Susan, there's no need to do it immediately. Other than that, we've had requests, like so many things, that one or two council members have been interested in this case, beautifying the building.
Right.
And our question was if it would be good to show some progress on the building, that might be of benefit. And using some of our funds to go ahead and show, as long as my concern was, as long as we don't use any funds that we have to redo once we have the final construction drawings, and it's not going to be more expensive. So, and Carl, I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
Joel answered my question. I was going to ask about gutters, right? Because we're fixing the pitch of the roof, which is good. You know, just from that higher pitch deals with sheds water and snow better, but without gutters, you might lead to foundation issues. So,
yes.
So does anyone else have any further questions on the roof?
So, yeah, Nancy, I feel like we need to make a decision. We either table this and we include it in the building rehabilitation, or we make a decision to go ahead with some of the roof improvements. But I think we need to make a decision and then let everybody know accordingly.
Don't we need to wait for additional proposals? I thought that was the whole.
We are. But even if we get another proposal, we still will have the option to say no to both of them and just do the rehabilitation at once.
Right, but why don't we wait till we get additional proposals?
Yeah, I would just as soon wait to see the cost, and I would like a pretty solid guarantee that any work we do now would not have to be redone when the building is fully rehabbed.
And that would be a hard guarantee, because we don't exactly know what they may have to do up in the ceiling or roof or whatever. So I think, Nancy, to your point, it could be risky.
Yeah. So to me, that's critical though.
Yeah.
And just kind of as a reminder, Dole mentioned it would require an MCAC formal approval from HPC for a public hearing. They indicated at the meeting that would be, you know, that they would have no problem with that. But we do need to start public notice process for that about 30 days in advance of the next meeting. So this Friday is the due date that we have for submittals to get on the October schedule. And so similarly, you know, we need to wait a month if we wanted to get on the schedule again in November. So for a public hearing.
That's good to know, because I didn't realize, I'd forgotten, I guess, that it needed an MCAC. So that adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing. Any other comments, concerns about the roof? Moving on then, any updates on floodplain or all the contract with that? So we're basically, the contract is in place, you're moving forward to do the analysis.
Not floodplain, the earthwork site analysis. Yes.
Okay, but basically the analysis to tell us which is more cost effective.
Yes. And
okay.
Maybe not even more cost effective, but what are the costs of each scenario? And then to let us make a decision on where we want to go.
And when do we expect that to be returned to us?
I'm thinking they're thinking late September-ish.
Okay, so the end of the month, basically. Hopefully.
I'm gonna be pushing for it because we need it.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Dole on earthwork versus floodplain? Okay, moving on. Budget. Dole, I had asked you last time to come back, and this is becoming even more and more critical. Were you able to do anything further on the budget?
Yeah, I emailed it out, Nancy, I think early last week, but I can pull it up and show where we sit now.
If you would. I mean, if you could resend it to me, because I was looking for it earlier and I could find this one that we got in July, but I couldn't, and I thought you had sent it out, so I apologize. I perhaps inadvertently deleted it or something.
And Nancy, like we talked about, I'll make sure that I have this updated for all of our meetings, even if we just touch on it for just a few minutes.
Good.
Let me pull up what I sent out. It's as I proposed it, but I subtracted out the proposed BVH contract. So let me just pull that up. There goes Ann's camera thing again.
Oops, I'm not paying attention. Sorry. I'm deep into something else. Sorry. I'll just turn
it. Just starts dancing on the screen.
Yeah.
Turn kind of green.
Well, when I finish doing what I'm doing, I'll come back.
So while you're looking for that, I just think it is critical that we have a monthly or whatever regular update on budget. And secondly, I did have my monthly breakfast meeting with Denise this morning, and she indicated that we had not submitted anything for the annual budget for the 2024 budget. And I think it's very important that we do submit something for that. My recommendation is at this point, looking at this one that came out, that you handed out at the City Council back in July, the site development, bathrooms, etc. I think we need to ask for a significant portion of that about 792K deficit that we've got.
So Nancy, first of all, when we did this last year, there was a call for projects, and it went out and said, hey, we're going to do a capital improvement. Who's going to get in there and ask for projects? And I don't know why, but that didn't really happen this year. And going into 2024, so we need to be asking for whatever is available. Maybe with you being on council, you might know what's available. I do not know what's available to ask for or where that money is going to come from.
Well, I'm less worried about where it's going to come from as opposed to just submitting our, the budget for a capital improvement into the capital improvement plan. This budget should be in there, and I think for 2024, I mean, it's a long term. The capital improvement plan that comes to council in our budget meeting it's a 5-year. Usually look at 5-year and spaced across 5 years. But I think for 2024, we need to be asking for a significant portion of that deficit, as I mentioned, for that north building. And I would suggest that we look at the mobility and transportation fund, that it should come out of there.
How much do you think, should we try to ask for that whole deficit? And I'm trying to pull this up here. Because the one I emailed out was updated.
Well, we've got, I don't know the answer to that at this point, but I would say, I don't know if anyone else has any input on it, but I'm thinking at least 500K. We can ask for it. We may not get it.
Isn't Denise working on another approach, Nancy?
No, well, if she is, she didn't share it with me.
I think she is. Maybe we ought to circle back with Denise before we do this.
Well, I was told the same thing, that we should be asking for 2024 funds. I think part of my hesitation was if there was more immediate needs, I don't know if I don't know.
That's your council to decide.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we want to ask for 500,000 in 2024 from the parking and mobility.
That's my knee-jerk reaction at this point. I think it's a valid request. Council can decide if they're going to fund it or not. And I have no idea, Anne, if you've got anything else you can share. But again, I met with her this morning and she made no indication that she was looking at another approach for it.
Yeah, well, she is. Probably before you do anything, I would just circle back with Denise and make sure she doesn't have any problem with that additional request.
Well, I'm just intrigued because she made a point of bringing it up to me this morning that we needed to ask for funding for the 2024 budget. So Dole, my knee-jerk reaction is that I think you need to, as a staff person who puts in requests, really put in a request for it. I will talk again with Denise to find out if there's something I'm unaware of, but I don't want to miss an opportunity and not be able to get started on this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'll put in a request immediately. And you're thinking too, Nancy, that it's only for the north bathrooms, like it would not be towards
I think at this point, yes, because I think that there's a strong possibility that we can start on that north building in 2024. I would also go ahead and ensure that this total amount is in there for the capital improvement, for both of the buildings, everything that we need for both of them, and make sure, and I have not looked at the budget recently, just to ensure that we're covered and that the need is, or that the requirement has been well documented in the capital improvement plan.
So Nancy, may I clarify, are you saying we should ask for the deficit both on the mobility budget and the building budget?
No, what I was proposing, because I think if we get $500,000, I'm probably maybe dreaming, I don't know, but I think it's a valid request. And then we can go after other sources of income, which is something else I want to talk, or revenue, to cover more of it. But at this point, I think that that's a realistic thing to ask for, and that we would ask for it from the Mobility and Transportation Enterprise Fund.
And are you saying ask for the whole amount, the 791,000, or just 500,000?
I was suggesting at this point 500,000.
Okay, all right.
And I have no rational reason why I'm saying that, other than that it just seemed like a round number and I didn't want to appear greedy. But if folks think we should ask for the whole 791, I mean, it'll probably get cut down. I can't imagine that they give us all of it. You never know. We might want to ask for the entire 700.
Why don't we ask for the whole thing? And if they cut us, they do. But if they don't, that's great.
Yeah. And I'm certainly amenable to that.
Okay. I will increase it to the 791.
And then, Anne, I'll go ahead and, call Denise again. I got a very different message this morning from her. So, but there may be a reason that I'm just unaware of. I don't know. And as we're talking about budget, I also wanted to say that on next month's agenda, we're going to need to start looking at, which is why I'm glad Dole is starting to track the funding, because we need to start looking at how we are going to fund these and start looking at a funding strategy. I think it's time, and start looking for grants, which brings up the enterprise zone, which you all saw, And that is just one of many opportunities. Hopefully you all read that. Denise sent us all an email on that. But it's, you know, anyone who donates, and I suspect we get more donations for the historic dance hall than for the North Building. But it would be well worth pursuing that as well to get tax breaks for anyone who donates. But there are many other grants and opportunities, and we need to just start. And we've done that in the past, but it's time to start it again and really start looking at a funding strategy for this thing. And we're not, I mean, you know, I think y'all know, we're sitting looking at this document that Joel has up. I think we're sitting pretty well for this project. And Joel, this now incorporates all the invoices and all the commitments and so on?
Well, I don't know. I had a updated one with this that did not have the word draft on it, and my computer reset, and I'm feeling like I didn't have that copy saved, but I thought I did a screen grab that I emailed out that showed it. And so I'm struggling to find where that went out.
Yeah, because this is identical to the one other than
exactly. And I updated it showing the subtraction of the BVH and something else. And I like I said, I think that my Excel crashed, but I did send the screen grab. So I'll find it, Nancy, and I'll I'll email it out too, so everyone has a copy and can. Great. So it's not just with me.
Super. All right. Thanks. Does anyone else have any questions or issues about budget or enterprise zone or grants, et cetera, et cetera? Susan.
Nancy, is there any action we need to take as a task force to try to pursue the enterprise zone?
There will be. It's premature at this point to actually pursue it. I was reading the directions, and we pretty much are going to need, as I read it, we need to have the design more finalized. Okay. Until we get that design finalized, there's so many things that we're just hamstrung on. Okay. So, but if any of the rest of you read it and interpret it differently, please let me know. Okay, are there any other updates that anybody has that they would like to share? Hearing none. Is Erin still on?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Erin, we heard a little bit about the roof, but in the meeting, the HPC meeting last night, but was there anything, I mean, the west, you were going to bring back to them the west entrance, south entrance, and the glass half wall to see what their reactions were to any of those. Were you able to do that last night?
Yes, the south entrance, they didn't really have any comments on that. They, you know, just were clarifying what my request was, and I just said, well, we're making sure you're aware of this change and you feel comfortable with it, and there were no objections noted to that treatment of the south entrance located next to the creek. In regards to the western entrance, we showed them the two options with, you know, one door or two doors, and the comment was made that if there's a door there, you know, that one door would be sufficient, and that having heard that the State Historic would not have objections to that western door, they felt more comfortable with having a western door. They did not want adding or making these types of changes to disqualify us from you know, historic designation or potential funding sources. And so they had, you know, some questions, I think, about how that door would be managed and safety moving forward. But, you know, Jennifer was able to, I think, provide some good answers to that in terms of how we can design for it. And then, you know, some other security questions are things that we'll have to continue to kind of talk about and work through as we move forward. So,
so SHPO did say it would be okay if there was one door there.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you have that?
I believe Jennifer has that in her notes from the meeting. I can confirm and see if that the representative from SHPO would make a statement in their own, you know, words via email to that effect.
I don't know if an email is fine, just something to document that so that we don't get surprised.
Yep. And she did talk about, you know, the submittal cycles. I don't know if this was discussed at the last task force meeting. The next one is here in October, and we're not pursuing that.
Right.
The reason we're not, many reasons, but the library is pursuing one this fall. So we can't go for two. If we go for two at a time, we're competing against ourselves, and
Right.
we don't want to do that. So April would be when we go next. So.
Okay. All right.
So,
thank you.
Nancy and task force, you know, with HPC giving us the thumbs up about that west entrance, you know, that is going to change how that west entrance interacts with the plaza. How do we want to handle that? You know, we could go as complicated as re-engaging the public on that, or we could go as simple as just incorporating what the community's already told us, but tweaking the designs to enable that connection and you know, usage.
I personally don't think we need to go back to the public on it. What does the task force think?
I agree.
I agree. Absolutely.
So I think there you have it, Dole. Unless anyone has any concerns, I think just incorporate it into the design and move forward.
Okay.
And if we're going to have that, then it'll also significantly impact the plaza design.
Yes. Yes. But in a good way.
Erin,
Which brings,
Erin,
go ahead, Susan.
Erin, may I ask you, did SHPO, were they okay with the south
Yes.
and also the south wall?
Yes, they gave us some recommendations on verbiage to use when we're applying, because of the type of what makes the building historic is a lot of what's happening on the inside in terms of the trusses and things like that. And so she gave us some recommendations and language when we apply for that. So they didn't have an issue with that south entrance either.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I see nobody from BVH here today. Dole, I'm assuming that means that we've got no progress on the plaza design.
Yeah, correct. But Nancy, I did give them the direction to go ahead and draw in an oven / stove and a refrigerator. And they're going to look at including some of that work in another scope, in the scopes for us to review. So they can do that drawing and effort and update that for us.
How about storage?
And that will include storage.
Okay.
I didn't mention it, but that'll include storage.
And, you know, I didn't want to imply last week that I'm only, you know, open toward increasing the size of the north building if they have other reasonable storage options that don't look like a last minute add-on. I'm amenable to that as well. So, but I will look forward to that. And hopefully the kitchen is large enough to accommodate a stove. It wasn't really the size of the kitchen so much as the concept, because I never got a clear understanding of what is required or what we can't have to go to
Nancy, if I'm being honest, I don't think they do either.
That's
I don't
been
think
my
BVH
impression.
does. So I think you're totally right. So the plan, what we'll do is once we get those drawings back from them, we will walk those drawings through regional building to confirm that we don't need to trigger the commercial kitchen with some of those requirements. When I spoke to regional building on the phone, it's kind of a voodoo, because no one tries to do like this kind of thing. You either do a commercial kitchen or you don't. And we're trying to have like a catering kitchen, but with an oven. And his comment was, if you have a commercial stove in there or a commercial fridge, then you're kind of functioning as a commercial kitchen. So if we have a residential fridge and a residential stove, then maybe we can fly under the radar. Also, historic building, Manitou Springs is a pretty big customer of regional building. I think that if we are like, hey, we want this to get approved, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but we'll get all that in writing. So as soon as I get those drawings from them, we'll walk them through regional building.
Okay. By the way, is the commercial stove up in Memorial Hall, does anyone official know that that's there? I'm not asking to inform anybody. I was just curious. So forget I asked. is it still, you know, and I would think electric rather than gas would be appropriate as well.
I think they got a new one, Nancy, and I haven't been in there, but I think it's just a 30, or
It's
maybe
huge,
not.
It's a huge, it's a beautiful stove.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know.
And it's big. Yeah. Yeah. But it's probably something we don't want to ask the question. I don't want to ask regional building about it. So.
Well, that was in there before, but you're right. You're right.
So, okay, then. In that case, that's all Susan, go ahead.
Just a question. Dole, do you know when BVH is going to have plaza design proposals for us to look at?
Let's see. Todd sent me, he is thinking they're finalizing the proposal to do the drawings. And he says, I hope to have it to you soon. And that was yesterday. Well, so
if we could get them for our next meeting, because we're looking at having a community engagement meeting on, you know, hopefully in October to review final designs. So we need it sooner rather than later.
Okay. He did go, whoever was going to talk, go ahead.
Oh, it's Aaron. I would say with the floodplain decision that would potentially impact a little bit of the fine tuning of the plaza. So just kind of keeping that in mind. But Dole, you were saying something.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, but I think we need to keep the fire lit because time's flying, and you know, I was hoping we're a year behind where I thought we'd be.
Yeah, and I guess I'm concerned about not having any time to make any adjustments to the plaza design because we're running out of time, and I think that would be a mistake. I think we need to make sure it reflects what we heard at that meeting and not sign off on it because we're running out of time.
Right. No, I don't want to cut corners, but I don't want to just let things go on.
And Nancy, I do think that once we get this next contract, we get BVH, we sign the next contract with them. I think things are going to. That's what I'm saying. They said they're supposed to have the revisions to me. They should have already had them to me by now, but they haven't. They emailed yesterday. They said they'll get them to me soon.
So that's what we're waiting on, and it's in.
That's what we're waiting on. It's in their court, and I do think though that once we get them under contract and get started on this effort, things will start going quickly.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and plan a meeting in 2 weeks, and hopefully we've got something substantive that we can address at that point. In the meantime, if any of you would like to start looking and researching what potential grants we can go after, I would welcome that. Just casual research is fine, just ideas. But multiple heads are better at finding stuff. So,
well, hang on a second then, because there is a grant, and let me just pull it up real quick. We can just scan it and see if you guys think it could be. But CDOT offers a revitalizing grants. Let me share my screen up here.
Oh, okay.
And the goal of this grant, I'll just read it: encourage active transportation and healthy lifestyles through improvements to the vitality of downtowns, mixed use centers, and community gathering spaces.
Very good. Could
Support
you send that?
Yeah. So here's the deal. It's due Wednesday, September 27th, 2023.
Do we need designs for it or just concepts?
Well, I'll tell you what, why we got a few minutes here. Here's the application. The maximum though is $250,000, which would be helpful.
No.
Must be in the state of Colorado. It says off-system projects are eligible, but since we are immediately adjacent to Manitou Avenue, which is a state highway, that probably helps us. You can't use planning, design, or community engagement expenses are not allowed. So it's only for construction money, which would be fine. must be a local government. And then here is the application.
So do we need design drawings or even construction
Well,
drawings?
I'm searching it with you.
Yeah.
Does this project touch CDOT right of way? Technically, no. We have to follow their competitive bidding rules. We have to follow the federal laws. And then there's a project objective. Attach current state photographs and map of the project area. Project scoped overview. Ownership information. And then deliverables. I think this is a little bit confusing, but financials. I'd have to see what this means as RMS funding, RMS grant requested. Hold on, let me go back to the top and see how it defines that. Revitalizing main streets. This is if the local agency is going to charge and collect money for this. Like basically if Aaron and I were going to charge for our time and administering the project, we could include that in the cost. But since our project cost is so high, we would probably not do that. We don't typically do that. And then here's where we put our construction cost, and here's our total RMS request. And then it adds it up. We list our other funding sources. And then we have to sign that we will do the work as advertised. And then we go through the more complicated part of the application process. How does it help the vitality of your community's downtown, mixed use center, community gathering place? I mean, I think we could write for days on that.
Yeah.
And then active transportation and safety. Increase biking, walking, or transit. And then equity, access, low-income people and or reach populations with disproportionately low environmental and health measures and outcomes. So, reach all of Manitou. And then readiness of implementation. What is the status of planning, designing, and engineering the project? Describe the degree to which a project is shovel ready and provide a project scheduled to not exceed 12 months for the RMS requested portion. So, I mean,
grant?
I'm sorry, what would you say?
That's right. Is this open for applications like once a year, twice a year? Do you know?
It's several times a year. I think it's either every other month or every quarter.
Well, Dole, I would ask, it doesn't look all that hard to complete. And we have 3 weeks to do it.
Yes, I will prepare the first draft.
I would call them and just say, would we be premature at this point? We might, what is the likelihood at this point, or should we wait till the next cycle?
Likelihood of getting awarded this?
Yeah.
Well, I think we submitted
at this point, or because if we're not, how close do we need to be to shovel ready? I mean, it says 12 months and we're skirting that.
Well, but Nancy, here's the angle I think we could take. We could say that this money is focused on the plaza, and we could, as a task force, decide to get the plaza going before. The bathrooms may be a little bit behind or something if we wanted to.
Okay. Well, Joel, can you do this? Is that something that fits into your?
I'll do it, and I'll send the draft out for everyone's review and edits. And then, like you, Nancy, it doesn't seem that complicated. I've applied for almost $1.5 million in grants now that I've been with Manitou for 4 years. So I usually can put together a pretty good grant, and happy to do it.
I think that would be great. And
thank you.
Yeah. And I think that would go a long way to council if we could even show them that we started submitting grants to. So great, thanks.
And to your point, it's $85 million over the next 10 years. So it could be, maybe what we do, and you know what, I'll call them. I can call them because maybe we do one grant for the plaza, and maybe we do one grant for the bathrooms or something like that. Maybe we kind of treat it as 2 applications or something like that. I'll
And
see if
also,
that matters to them.
yeah, do we have any feeling of where the COG is on that 500K?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm not involved in those conversations.
Okay. I just
I
keep hoping.
think I know it's sitting there for the city to utilize.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in concurrence or with full concurrence of the COG. Anyway, all right, I'll try to follow up on that as well. So,
but if the COG would agree, that would be money that could be applicable to this site. Yep.
Oh God, yes. Be great. So, all right. Anything else that anyone would like to raise? That's a great initiative, Dole. I'm glad you found that. Any comments for the good of the order? Hearing nothing, we may adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good afternoon.
Have a good evening.
Go.
Bye.